All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining our Managing Employee Performance webinar today. We'll wait just a moment for everyone to get started, get joined up here. Okay, looks like we have quite a few people on. We'll wait just for another minute here and see if any of these stragglers want to jump on with us. Yep, there's another one. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started this morning and afternoon for those of you that are on the East Coast. Again, thank you everybody for joining us today. The topic of our webinar today is managing employee performance. So you guys, today's webinar will focus mostly on reports. So I know everyone's like, blah, reporting is boring, but I promise to make it as exciting as possible. Some of the stuff that we'll look at today, I think you guys will be really excited about. All right, so just to get started, a bit of housekeeping. The duration of this webinar is about 30 minutes, and of course, we'll always allow time for Q&A as well. Okay, your speakers must be turned on to hear the webinar. So you guys, when you join, hopefully you join and you can hear me talking and everybody is ready. Okay, my microphone is on. Everybody else is automatically muted as soon as you join as well. We will take questions throughout the webinar using the chat box or the question box. So our learning outcomes for today, at the end of this webinar, you will be familiar with the performance screen. Okay, you'll be able to run the employee performance reports, be familiar with the employee performance extended report, understand how to measure productivity, be able to run the client retention reports, as well as understand how to measure your rebookings. All right, so the first one we're going to take a look at today is the performance screen. Okay, so you guys, where we find our performance screen is in our main menu, and then it's that little performance button. So it looks like this little guy right here. Okay, and when you come into this screen, the things that we can see in here, you can see attendance clock on and off. You can see a different view mode. You can see their scheduled time and their clocked times, employee service breakdown and employee dollar breakdown. Okay, and you can view the day by day, week, and month. Okay, so you guys, as soon as you log in or go into the performance screen, you'll see all of your employee information up at the top here. Okay, and then there's a little scroll bar to scroll up and down, or to find themselves, they can simply click on the little Find Employee button, and they'll be able to choose themselves from the list of employees that pop up. Okay, so if we want them to clock in and out, over here on the right-hand side, if they're already clocked on, the button will say clock off like it does there. If they're not clocked on, the button will say clock on. Okay. Also here, you can see it says scheduled to work from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, so it will show the time that that employee is scheduled to work that day. It'll also show clocked on or clocked off the last time. So you can see clocked on 12:23 on 2/19. I hope she's still not clocked in because that would be a really long shift. You guys, right here underneath the employees, it's kind of small, so I hope you can see it there, but it says view mode. So right now, up in the top for the service, the employee service breakdown, we're viewing the count where we can see how many of these different sections, cuts, colors, chemical services, have these employees done in these areas. Okay, the view mode will also allow you to look at points or dollars as well. Okay. Now the employee service breakdown, you guys, you can see it will show today, this week, or this month. It'll show the number of clients. And then these sections that you see here, so again, cut, color, chemical, these are your service report categories. So each of your services should match up to a service report category. And then what you can do in here is you can actually see, again, when I'm looking at count, how many services did my employees do in each of these sections? Okay, the employee dollar breakdown, again, I can view that today, this week, or this month. Okay, and it'll give me service dollars, retail dollars, sundry dollars, a total, and then average per client. Okay, I do have a hot tip on this screen, you guys. Up at kind of in the middle over to the right, it says all prices are excluding tax. Okay, so if you click that button, it will change to including tax. So it's really important, depending on how they want to see that screen, how you have that set. Again, if you click on it, it changes from excluding to including and vice versa. Okay. Any questions about that employee performance screen? All right. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is some employee performance reports. Okay, so I picked out 4 to show you guys. That does not mean that these are the only employee performance reports that you could be looking at. I just picked out some of my favorites here to show you guys today, but there's quite a few in these in the employee section that you could look at as well. Okay, so the first report, the business employee performance report, that is actually found underneath your business section. You guys, this report is inactive by default, so you do have to make this report active in your report screen to be able to see it. Okay, the other 3 are underneath the employee section in your report screen. Okay, so performance summary, the ranking report, as well as the performance summary extended report for employees. Okay, and how you get to your report screen, you guys, is from the tools menu, and it's the very top icon and it says reports. It looks like this little guy right here. Okay, so let's take a look at the business employee performance report. Okay, so here's a sample of this report. And again, you guys, you can take a look at this after the webinar today and take a look at some of the information that you can see on there. I kind of broke it up for you here so we could take a look at what is on this report. Okay, so I can look at this for individual employees. Okay, so it will show me service sales. It will break that up into non-technical or stylist services versus technical or chemical services. Okay, it'll show us the retail sales. Okay, it'll show us our total sales, percentage service of the total, the percentage that the retail was of the total, your retail to service percentage for that particular employee, and the chemical to service percentage for that particular employee. Okay, then we have some performance statistics as well. Okay, and then under there, it'll actually break it down for us hour, day, week, and month, which is really awesome on a report, right? And then it will show us things like total time worked, average service sales, average retail sales. Okay, it also shows some other information down at the bottom as well, you guys, some booking statistics as well as the tags, so the appointment tags that this particular employee uses or gets assigned as well. Okay, somebody's asking how you activate the report. So if you go into your report screen, you guys, so again, tools and reports, there should be a little checkbox that says show inactive or inactive. So check that box and then expand underneath the business section because that's where this particular report is. So expand that business section, click on the business employee performance, and then down on the bottom on the right, you should see an active checkbox. So you should go ahead and be able to make that report active and then it will stay like that. Okay, any other questions about this report? All right. You guys, the next one is the employee performance report, or the employee performance summary. So again, this is under Tools, Reports, and it's under the Employee section, and it's simply called the Performance Summary. I like to call this one an oldie but a goodie, okay, because this report has been around forever, but it has some really great detail on it for us. Okay, so I've kind of highlighted the areas here that I've pointed out to the left-hand side, and then I've highlighted the section at the bottom because it's important to note that not only can you see the individual employee breakdown on this particular report, you could also see averages and totals as well. Okay, so that's really important and some really great information for you. Okay, so on the performance summary, you guys, you can see the client count again, right? You can see the service by report category. In these sections, I can see the count and the dollar amount. So again, you can see cuts, color, styles, and so on. Okay, I can see retail totals. Okay, in this section, I can see how many units, how many points, if we're giving points for retail sales to our employees, as well as the dollar amount. Okay, I can see sundry totals. Okay, I can see service total. So again, in this section, if I'm giving points for services, I can see points and the dollar amount. Okay, I get an overall total. I also get average client spend or average client dollar. Okay, if you guys are using gift certificates, I can get gift certificates sold under different employees as well. And also there's a column for series total. Okay, and again, you guys, down at the bottom, you can see my hot tip here is that not only does it give you that employee breakdown, but it also gives you those averages and totals as well down at the bottom. Okay, any questions about this report here, you guys? Okay, probably most of you have looked at this report before. Hopefully it's one of the ones that you look at frequently. I just wanted to take some time to explain. All right, let's see. So there's a question if this report can be run for a single employee as well as combined. The answer is yes, you guys. This report is a report that allows you to filter which employee you want to run it for. Okay, so when you go to choose your date range, in your reports, if there's ever a next button, you always want to make sure that you click next to see what other options it might give to you. So a lot of the times these reports will allow you to filter for which employee you want to see, or it will allow you to filter to include or exclude tax on these reports depending how you want to see them. All right. Okay, so there's a question here as well, you guys. What's the difference between the performance summary report and the performance summary extended report? I'm going to explain that report in just a few minutes, but basically the performance summary extended is kind of what it says is it's just basically adding some more detail and some extra information to our employee performance report. Okay, and we'll look at that in just a moment. Okay, so here is the employee performance extended report, okay? And so this report, you guys, for an example, I just ran it for a single employee, okay? And here, basically, I just wanted to break up into sections so that we can understand this report, okay? So this first section here, you can see it says service and retail, okay? And then under that section, you have a service section, you have a retail section, you have a service and retail section, and then you have a conversion section. Okay, so in the service section, it'll show you things like hours worked, productivity, how many service clients they had, service clients per hour, and so on. Okay, One really important one that I'll point out to you guys is the service and retail section has the retail to service percentage number as well. Okay, so this here basically will show you, how much retail they're selling per client that they're seeing. Okay, the next section is the retail only section. Okay, and this is where I can see retail only clients, retail only total, retail only average ticket. Okay, so again, that section is labeled retail only and it breaks it down like that for you. Okay. Okay, the total section will give you your totals for those areas. So total sundry, total retail, total clients, and so on. Okay, the section below that is our service category section. So just like the regular performance summary report, this will break down our categories for us as well. So again, you can see cuts, color, style, chemical, and so on. It'll give me the total, okay, again, as well as the count. So how many did I do and how much money or how many dollars did that bring in? Okay, and then the very bottom section shows us our tags. So again, just like our business employee report, our business employee performance report, this one shows us the tag breakdown. So this one will show us the top 5 tags that are used and give us a count for that particular employee. Okay, so again, you guys, with the performance summary extended, it's basically some of the same information broken down in a different way and giving you some extra detail. So this is a really great question. The question is, are the hours worked based on scheduled hours or clocked hours? Okay, so the answer is, if the employees do not clock in and out, it would be based upon their scheduled hours. If they do clock in and out, then clocked hours override scheduled hours. So that's important to note, you guys. So if they use the time clock and they were scheduled to work 8 hours today, but they only clocked in for 7.5 or 7, that's the amount of hours that would show up for that particular day. All right, so that's our employee or our performance summary extended report. Again, you guys, it's under Tools, Reports, and under the Employee section. All right, so the next one I want to show you is the employee ranking report. Okay, so you guys, basically this is your top 10 employees report. Okay, this is also available, same place, Tools, Reports, and under the Employee section. So you get a ranking in 9 categories. Okay, so if any of you have been on a employee performance webinar with me before, I promise you I talked about this report because it's one of my favorites. Okay, you guys, it very easily breaks out for you, like I said, those top 10 employees, and it breaks it out in service dollars, product dollars, total. So those are the 3 across the top here. It then breaks it down, service dollars per hour, product dollars per hour, and guest or client count. Okay, that's that middle section. And then the bottom one is average service ticket, average product ticket, and average ticket. Okay, so it'll give you, like I said, those top 10. This particular store that I ran it for actually only has 7 employees, so it doesn't give me the top 10 for this particular store. However, if you did have 10 or more employees, it will list the top 10 for you. Okay, this is one of my favorites, you guys. You can decide whether or not you're going to share this information with the staff. I found that for me, it actually really drove competition within within the store and within the staff members, because obviously they always want to be better and they always want to be on top. Well, hopefully they do. Okay, but whether or not you decide to share this information or not, it's really great for you to know, because then you know which employees are your top performers and which ones you maybe need to push. Okay, so there's a question. So it says, so this does not work with 9 or under employees. It absolutely does. This particular store that I ran it for only has 7 employees. So what it does is it'll just rank all of them in the order up till 7. So if you have 9 employees, it'll rank all 9 of them for you in the order of which they performed. Okay, perfect. Okay. So the next thing we want to talk about, you guys, is how to measure productivity. Okay, so I also picked out a few reports for this as well. Okay, so what should we be looking for when we're talking about productivity? Okay, so I pulled some reports. 2 of them are underneath the appointment section, and 2 of them are underneath the walk-in section. So what I did, you guys, is I targeted 2 reports that are for appointment users, and I targeted 2 reports that are for our walk-in manager users. Okay, so either way, depending on if you use the appointment book or the walk-in manager, we have some reports that you can look at here. I also just want to mention as well that I did want you to take a look at some of the statistics on the trading summary as well, and that's for both appointment book or walk-in manager. Okay, so we could take a look at those. All right, so the first one is the appointment schedule analysis. Okay, so again, you guys, this is just for appointment users. Okay, so this basically will show you schedule time versus booked time. Or for some of you, it might say roster in your system, so that'd be rostered time versus booked time. Okay, so the first one that we see, this is basically the graph over time. Okay, so the scheduled is the top line. Okay, and then the booked is the bottom line. And then it gives you the time period that you've pulled, each of the dates along the bottom. So it kind of shows you over time how that went. Okay, also I can break this down for that employee as well. Okay, and it will actually list it by date for me, like you see in this lower image. Okay, so it will show us times booked versus times scheduled or rostered, and it gives us that percentage of efficiency. So it'll show us, for instance, here on January 4th, we were booked 7 hours, 45 minutes out of a 9-hour schedule, 86% efficiency. That's pretty awesome that we can see that. And then you can see over the entire time period that I looked at, they had a 70% booked. Okay, any questions about that report? Okay, so you guys, when talking about efficiency, this is a really great way to see how our employees are doing. The next one I wanted to take a look at is the value of future appointments report. So you guys, this is actually one of the few reports that you can run for a future time, right? So this report will actually project for us or show us what we have booked on the appointment book, again, for a single employee or for multiple employees at a time. Okay, so it'll show us the percentage of appointments that are booked with them over that time period. Okay, so if I run this for my entire store, it'll actually show me that Stylist 12 here is 51% of the booked time that we have the following month. Okay, Stylist 2 is 24%, Stylist 7 is 24%, and then nobody else has anything booked. So these people are the people that I need to target to start getting referrals or to start, you know, not sitting around waiting for the busy bus, right? Okay, any questions about that report, you guys? Like I said, you guys, this is one of those few reports that you can run in the future, but it's a really great way to tell how much revenue you can be expecting in the following month. All right. Okay, so these next reports are for the walk-in manager users. Okay, so if I use walk-in manager, I can look at the employee efficiency report. Okay, the statistics that this will show me, or the information that I can see here, is number of visits, okay, average visit time, okay, number of services, average service time, okay, the time in service and the downtime, total working time, and efficiency. Okay, again, this will break it down per employee, and then it will break it down, give you a total, and then it will give you some averages as well. Okay, again, so for those of you that use, the walk-in manager, this can be a really valuable report to let you see how much time are they scheduled that they're not actually doing anything. Okay, because maybe we need less people scheduled on. Any questions about that report? No. Okay. All right, so the next one I have to show you is the employee service efficiency. So again, this is also for our walk-in manager users, and this is another way to see, this one breaks it down per service, how well and how efficient our employees are completing these services. Okay, so average service block time comparisons in minutes for each employee. Okay, so you guys, across the top of this report, I see the employee names, and then at the end I have an averages column. And then across the side here, I have the service categories broken down by service, and then I have in each of the columns a number. Okay, so that's the service minutes that it's taking these particular employees to complete these services. So when you set up a service within Shortcuts, you set a specified service time. Okay, so you will be able to tell whether or not they're taking less time or more time than you anticipated, as well as, again, the average for that particular service. Okay, so if you have services, you guys, that are set to 30 minutes and you see that they're constantly going over this time, then maybe we need to do some work with these employees. Any questions about that report? All right. Okay, so when talking about employee efficiency, excuse me, there's one other thing that I do want to point out, you guys, is your training summary report has some employee performance statistics on it as well. Okay, so down at the bottom of your training summary, after it shows you all your takings and all of your totals and your statistics and everything, you have an employee section. Okay, so down at the bottom, I've highlighted that section for us here. Okay, it will show us obviously per employee. It'll show us product, service, and sundry sales, as well as a total. Okay, it'll show that employee's percentage of the total over that time period that the trading summary was run for. Okay, it'll also show us average ticket. So when we're talking about efficiency, that's a really good thing to be looking at, right? What is their average ticket? Okay, when we're talking about employee performance and giving them goals and reviews and things like that, I often find that instead of asking them to raise their hair total maybe by $1,000 or $500, it might be easier to ask them to raise their average ticket by $5 or $10. Okay, so average ticket's a really good one. It'll show us ticket totals as well as the employee time. So again, how much they worked over that time period. You guys, again, this time, if the employees do not clock on and off, it will go by scheduled time. If they do clock on and off, the clocked hours override the scheduled time. So that's what you would see there. Okay, and then the very last column is our service sales per hour. So again, when talking about efficiency, this is a really great thing to take a look at. Okay, you guys, I have a hot tip down here at the bottom on the right. I know it's a long one, but I did mention this a couple of slides back. But basically, you guys, in any report that you see the Next button at the bottom of your report screen, choosing Next will allow you to add more detail or different filters to your report. So on the trading summary, I was actually able to add the service breakdown and the product breakdown per employee. Okay, so if I'm looking at a particular, if I'm looking at a particular staff member, you can see here that it'll show me the breakdown of their services as well as the breakdown of their products as well. So that's a really great thing to look at when looking at employee performance. Any questions about that info on the trading summary? Okay. Again, you guys, I cannot stress enough that in your reports, when you see that Next button, for those of you that haven't been using the Next button, I promise you it's going to open a whole new world. Okay, so make sure you use that Next button. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is employee retention reports, okay? Obviously, excuse me, client retention, again, which is under our employee section, okay? So again, tools, reports, under employee, or excuse me, under clients, you can find the client retention report. No, under employees, sorry. Okay, so you guys, I have put the description of this report because this is actually really important, okay? It is important that when running the retention report, you actually go back 90 days and then run a report for a time period that's actually at least 90 days in the past. Okay, and the reason is, you guys, is if we actually run a retention report for a present time, none of those clients would have the opportunity to come back, right? So what the retention report does is it looks at a past time period, and it gives them that 90-day period to return, and it shows us how many of those clients have returned and how many we've lost. Okay, so for each employee, we can see the total clients. We can see the number and the percentage of clients that return to the same employee. We can also see the number and the percentage of clients that return to another employee. Also, the number and total clients retained, as well as the number and total percentage of clients lost. Okay, so I just have a little note here that says that the report doesn't seem to work for me. So basically, you guys, you can see here that I ran this report for the month of October. Okay, so I was thinking that I was doing performance for now, right? I'm measuring retention for my employees over this January, February period. So I've gone back to the month of October, chosen the dates October 1st through October 31st, and then what this tells me is how many clients did my staff members see during that time period, and how many of those people have actually returned, and how many of them we've actually lost because they haven't been back in a 90-day period. If that's something that you're struggling with running this report, I would be happy for one of the educators to walk you through this. At the end of this webinar, you'll have the education email address. Go ahead and just write that down, send us an email and asking for some help running the retention report, and one of us will reach out to you. Okay, because that's a really great report. Okay, so there's another question. Is there an option to see the actual client name or who the stylist that they changed to? You can see the actual client name. Okay, so if you double click on these the stylist or these numbers in here, more information will pop up for you, and you'll actually be able to see who the clients were that were lost and who came back and all of that information. Okay, awesome. Okay, you guys, I know that sometimes the retention report is something that can be tricky. Again, the education team will be happy to run you guys through these. So for those of you that have been struggling with the retention report, this is a really, really great report. So if you do have questions, please reach out to us. Okay, there's one more question. Let me just take a look here. This is a really great question again. So when an employee clocks in, I understand their worked hours override the scheduled hours. So again, you guys, this is going back to those performance summary reports for our employees and the trading summary. And then it says, but is this based daily? So if they forget to clock in or out on a day, does the scheduled hour kick in? Absolutely, the answer is yes. Okay, so if generally they clock in and out, but then they don't on a particular day, then yes, that scheduled hour, so they were scheduled for 8 hours, that will then kick in and then that will be added into the time. Great question, Sheila. Okay. All right, so that's our retention report. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about, you guys, is how to track rebookings. Okay, so first I just want to talk about how to set it up. Okay, so located in the setup menu, configuration, and then in the sales setup menu, under point of sale, you have the ask to rebook button. So for those of you that book appointments and would like to track rebookings, you want to make sure the ask to rebook is there. Okay. Also under configuration, under general setup and under the appointment book, you want to make sure that you check on rebookings prompt to assign employees credit, because this is the way that Shortcuts will actually track the employees that are getting credit for rebookings. Okay, so you want to make sure that those things are turned on to be able to track them properly. Once you've done that, okay, then how do I actually apply a rebooking credit, or how do I make sure that my employees are actually getting the credit that they need? Okay, so from the point of sale, Shortcuts, once you have that ask to rebook turned on, Shortcuts will actually prompt the user to ask the client to rebook. Okay, so if the client says yes and they'd like to rebook, okay, you'll click the rebook button, you'll return to the schedule, and you'll book the future appointment. Then you'll be prompted and it will say, if this is a rebooking, would you like to give an employee credit? Click yes and then select the employee you'd like to give credit to, okay? Okay, for the appointment book, so say the client walks in and they rebook their appointment as soon as they walk in, so they don't actually wait until they're checking out to do it. So at that point, you can also go ahead and once you book that appointment, right-click against the appointment, okay? Down at the bottom of the right-click menu, you'll see this extra tab. And then if you choose extra, it'll go into some extra detail about about the appointment, and you can click on set rebookings. Okay, the screen for employees will pop up again, and again at this point you'll choose the employee getting credit for the rebooking. Okay, I think I might have a question, so I'm just going to take a look here. Oh, maybe not. Let's see. So there's a question here, for the rebooking tracking, is there a way to track both the stylist and the receptionist? The answer is yes. Basically, the rebooking prompt will continue to pop up, so you'll give an employee credit, and then it will pop up again and ask if you'd like to give an additional employee credit. If you hit yes, you can choose the receptionist name as well. If you hit no, it will only choose to give credit to the particular person or the stylist. Okay, there's another question here. It says it doesn't pop up for every guest. Is there a way to correct that? Absolutely. You have to make sure, and I'll just go back one screen again. Whoops. You have to make sure, you guys. Oh, it doesn't want to go back for me. Oh, sorry. It doesn't want to go back for me there. You have to make sure that ask to rebook is turned on. If ask to rebook is turned on, it will not pop up for every single client. So again, if you go to setup, configuration, to the point of sale or sales setup, and then in there on the left-hand side, you'll see the ask to rebook to turn that on. Okay, so that has to be on really to be able to properly track your rebookings. Okay, so here you guys, I just wanted to pull up the rebooking breakdown report. Okay, so for each employee, it will give me number of visits, number of rebookings, and then the rebooking percentage. Okay, and then of course down at the bottom, it will give us a total as well. Okay, so remember, if you're giving receptionists credit, as well as stylists, your rebooking numbers could actually be higher than your client visits. Okay, that would only be if you're rebooking 100% of your clients. However, it would be possible. Okay, so again, the employee, the number of visits, the number of bookings, and then that rebooking percentage. All right. Okay, so you guys, just a summary of what we talked about today, and thank you so much for sticking with me. I know it was kind of long talking about all these reports, but again, hopefully you guys are pretty excited about some of the stuff that we talked about today, and you're going to go review these. So the employee performance screen, really you guys, the employee performance screen is a place where the employees can check out what they're doing. Okay, running the employee performance reports, understanding that employee performance extended report, measuring productivity, looking at our retention as well as our rebookings. Okay. All right, so we'll open it up to Q&A here. Again, you guys, I know we ran a little long today, so thanks so much for hanging in there. For any of you that still have questions, please stick around and we'll answer a few here. If clients are pre-booked, this becomes difficult. Please explain. So I'm guessing you mean when they come in, they're already booked for a future time and you're not rebooking them that day. If that's the case, you can go to their future booking still, right-click and set the rebooking. That will give the rebooking credit. Okay, the webinar will absolutely be recorded as well, you guys. So for any of you that want to review this or missed some of it, we generally get this up on the web within a few days, generally at least by the end of the week. So this will be up there to review as well in the webinar library. Okay, there's a question from Rose. Rose, your question is based upon commissions and tips and things like that. That's something that's really a separate subject. So if you'd like to email through to the education team, and again, I'll show the email address in just a second, we can answer those questions for you. Okay, there's also a question here. Let's see. So there's just a question about really what the stylists have access to. And so you guys, Shortcuts does have security around most of our features. So basically, the security within Shortcuts actually controls what the employees and or staff has access to. So generally, managers and owners would have more access and be able to see more information and the setup more than the employees would. Okay, we'll keep a few more minutes for Q&A, but while we're doing that, you guys, I just do want to show that we have a webinar promotion right now as well. We're running some specials on education. So for those of you that need some inventory training, that is actually what we're covering next time, you guys, Inventory 101. But for those of you that really want some one-on-one inventory management training, we're discounting that currently by $100. Okay, and for those of you, you guys, we did the Set and Forget webinar last month, and that is up on the Set and Forget or on the webinar library. But for those of you, again, that feel like you need some one-on-one, that is going for a discounted price. We have in the education specials right now also. Okay, so if that's something you're interested in, you guys, just go ahead and give the office a call, and your account manager will be happy to talk to you about that. Okay, so I did just mention, you guys, the next webinar is coming up on Monday, March 28th, and it's at 9 a.m. Pacific time. Okay, and it is Inventory Management 101. So we'll be going over, well, you can see adding a new supplier, company line, creating orders, receiving them in, you know, basic management of your inventory system to make sure that, you know, you're keeping your products up to date, and it's an easy thing for you to manage, hopefully. Okay, so for those of you that want to go and register for the next webinar, you know that you can go to shortcuts.net/webinars and to watch the past webinars, so the Set and Forget one from last week, or again, I'll have this one up in a couple of days. You can go to shortcuts.net/webinars/webinar-library. Okay, so those of you that want to email through with some help for the retention report, or some help, questions about the commission and tips, go ahead and send that through to education@shortcuts.net, and we will certainly help you guys out. And any other information, of course, you can go to our Facebook page, shortcuts.net, to our website, and then these are the numbers to contact the office, and the last one is toll free. All right. Again, you guys, thank you so much for sticking in with me. I know it was kind of a long webinar, but again, really great information about employee performance and measuring productivity and retention and rebookings. Hopefully you guys have picked up some good tools that you can now take back to use with the team. Thank you, everybody. And join us next time on the 28th of March, and we hope to see you then.